What is going on, everyone? This is Cedric with Says Dividends, and this is episode 3 of my ULTY investment journey. ULTY, if you're unaware, is a ultra income ETF, very high yield, very high risk. What's highlighted in blue here is what happened last week. My capital investments, also including the drip from the distributions. What's highlighted in green is the new information. So on 9/12, I received my distribution from ULTY of $148.54, which netted me 26.584 more shares. Also, I've been feeling a little confident. I was thinking of backing off as far as like adding any more capital. I've already added over $9,000 in capital, but ULTY's been doing pretty good over the last few days. As you look at the 5-day average, it's gone up 2.33%. Now for the month, or for the past 30 days, ULTY did drop a little bit sometime in August, but I didn't start investing until the last week of August. I did see the drop here where I did dollar cost averaging. My average share price is $5.73. Obviously, it's below that right now, so I'm enjoying grabbing more shares at a cheaper price than I originally bought in. In the last 5 days, it's been creeping up. And according to Seeking Alpha, it's up 2.33%. So it's been taking such a drop throughout the year. There's been a lot of people jumping out of ULTY. And fortunate enough for me, I didn't know about the fund. I honestly didn't know about the fund early on, or I probably would have invested early on. Now, the idea of getting out of the fund would have been a challenge for me, even though I saw the NAV decreasing throughout the year. Well, I like the fact that it's paying me weekly, and in most cases, the actual value has been a positive, even though it may be barely a positive, but it's been a positive because the dividend or the distribution has been so great. And then back in May, they changed to become a weekly payer, and the compounding actually happens faster, right? Because you're getting paid every week. And if you reinvest those funds, that increases your shares at a faster rate than it does once a month. You're increasing your share count every week instead of every month. Look at the last 6 months. You can start to kind of see it's settling in. It's a lot flatter than the year chart. And if you look at the year chart, you see it slowly well, I don't know about slowly, but it was decreasing pretty good. I mean, I get it. If this was any other stock, you would want to get out. If you see your shares decreasing at this level, especially if it's a new company or a new fund or security that you're invested in, if you saw a drop like that, it's very understandable to get out. But if you understand ULTY as well, it's easy for me to say because I just wasn't aware of the fund back then. But the way ULTY is set up based on their website, UMAC says, due to ULTY's investment strategy, ULTY's indirect exposure to gains, if any, of the share price returns of the underlying securities is capped. However, ULTY is subject to all potential losses if the shares of the underlying securities decrease in value, which may not be offset by income received by ULTY. So the share price isn't going to shoot up if the securities underlying shoot up, but ULTY can drop in share price if the securities underlying it drop. Why would you invest in something like that if there's no upside? Well, the upside is really in the income that it generates. Now, one thing that ULTY did that I love is the fact that they started protecting the bottom by investing in put options also on the bottom. So this helps protect the income or the share price, and it helps settle it down. And I think that transition is what we're seeing here in the 5-day chart. Now, I may be wrong, only time will tell, but we'll see. Now, back to my chart here. On 9/15, like I said, I felt so comfortable with what I was seeing last week in ULTY. I invested some more of my capital, $150, at the share price of $5.63 at the time, and that netted me 26.660 more shares from the week. So my September total, capital and drip income, or capital and distributions, equals $629.16 so far. My average share price of all the investing has been $5.60. I'm I which is below my average share price, so that'll help average me down a little bit. The number of shares so far in the month of September, 111 shares. So my total for August was 1,542. And if you add in what I have so far in September, I have 1,653 shares. So here's an article I found on Seeking Alpha that was very intriguing, and this helped boost my confidence in ULTY and my assumptions that I was holding inside. This guy is somewhat repeating basically everything I was thinking, and he dropped some knowledge that I wasn't even aware of. And this is a great article to take a look at. We won't go through the entire article, but just certain parts of it that I like. And again, if you want to read the entire article, just head to seekingalpha.com and then type in ULTY, and then you will find all the articles on Seeking Alpha. So this gentleman mentioned that he invested in ULTY at a higher price, and then he decided to sell at $6.54. So he bought in at $8.19 per share. He said about 3 weeks later, ULTY's share price plunged below $7, eventually dropping to the mid to low $6 range. And then he took a couple more distributions and he got out. What also made him sell was he said he had other cover called ETFs that were doing pretty well. So he decided to focus on those. He also mentioned that it wasn't long after that, YieldMax decided to buy puts on ULTY, which would cap more of the downside. Again, kind of like what I was saying, but I said it wrong. He said that YieldMax bought puts on ULTY. I was thinking that they were buying puts on the underlying securities. He said that strategy so far has worked, and it has been trading approximately in the $5.40 to $6.40 range, give or take a few cents. In early September, he decided to drop, once it dropped in the mid $5 range, to build up a position again, because he considered it a much safer holding than it was in February. Now I'm going to read this part about how to view ULTY, because a lot of people are treating ULTY like any other ETF or stock or mutual fund or whatever. Now that the share price of ULTY has stabilized and appears to have found a consistent trading range, I see it being a solid ETF to generate good income for the foreseeable future. Let's say an investor buys 1,000 shares of ULTY. With the price being $5.57, that would represent a total cost of $5,570. That means the worst case scenario would be to lose all of that if the fund were to totally and immediately collapse, which it isn't going to. I agree 100%. People fearmonger and think that the fund will collapse to zero. It's not going to do that. ULMax will not let that do that. As many investors that ULMax has, it would not let ULTY fall to zero. Anyway, back to the article. Now using a low distribution rate of 8 cents weekly, which is below the distribution currently being paid out. The lowest I've seen is 9 cents. So he is being super, super conservative beyond what YieldMax has ever seen. It's never dropped that low. 1,000 shares at 8 cents weekly would generate $80 a week, or about $320 a month. I say about because there are some months that have 5 payouts, just like you would get if you got paid every week on your job. And then he has a chart here with the dividend pay history, and you can find this also on YieldMax's website. Last week was 9.28 cents. The week before was 9 cents. And the week before that was 9.49 cents. So those are the 3 distributions that I've seen so far since I've been invested in ULTY. But before that, I mean, it's 10 cents or higher for a good part of the summertime. And then you're above 9 cents. And then you got to go way back to June for 1 week that it dipped below 9 cents. So it's never seen 8 cents. Okay, continuing the article, under this distribution rate, it means within a year, the ETF will generate $4,160 in income. If ULTY were to drop $1 with 1,000 shares by the end of the 12-month period, it will still generate $3,160 in total returns for the year, not including the original principal. This is the major reason I like where the share price is at this time, because of the limited amount of NAV erosion it could undergo when compared to when it was trading over $11 per share. Total returns are the only way to view an ETF like ULTY as it stands today. I 100% agree. Total returns, which means the market value plus the dividends, is total returns. If you're only looking at the market value, ETFs like ULTY will scare the hell out of you, because all you're looking at is the value of your share price go down, or at least that's what you were doing in the past. Even though you're getting paid every week, 10 cents, 9 cents, 10 cents. So if you are reinvesting those dividends and the share price is dropping at the same time, that means you're buying more shares at a lower price, which helps you in the total returns. And I'll read one more piece of this in his conclusion section. The downside of NAV erosion at this price point is far less than it was. And with the puts in place, I think it'll take a lot to drive it to a much lower level. And bear in mind, the 8 cents distribution used in the example above is less than the current distribution, as well as all distributions paid out since the inception of ULTY. So yes, ULTY has never seen 8 cents. So in his example, he was using 8 cents, and that was just to be very conservative and cautious. I agree 100% with what he's saying. It's going to take a hell of a lot to drive it much lower than what we're looking at right now. For the type of income producer it is, I see taking a position in ULTY as a no-brainer. The risks, while still in play, are much less than they were in the past. And it'll take a lot for the ETF to take a huge hit to the point where it becomes a major concern. I so much agree with that. It's crazy. And what do you think about ULTY? Do you agree with that article saying that this is a great time to get in it? Do you hold ULTY currently? What is your average share price, and what do you think the future holds for ULTY? Leave me a like, leave me a comment as well. And until next week, peace.